They say war is a symphony of bullets, explosions, blood, and fire. But sometimes, the most powerful act of heroism is the one you never hear. The unarmed intervention that saves lives in silence. This is the story of one such man. This is the story of Captain Aaron Malik, the soldier who rescued 75 lives without firing a single shot.
The wind whipped across the dusty plains as dawn broke over the valley. In the distance, fractured ridges traced the horizon. Camp Bravo stood at the foot of a jagged hill, its tents pinned against the rising sun. It was early May, 2005. The region, a remote border region between two hostile nations, its name erased from maps, its fate determined by those who dared to trespass. Captain Aaron Malik was part of a small peacekeeping contingent dispatched to monitor a volatile truce. He had arrived only days earlier, a veteran of earlier conflicts, but weary of war's endless toll. Aaron was 34, tall and lean, with deep-set eyes that had seen too much. His uniform was patched, his boots scuffed, but beneath his calm exterior lay a relentless conviction that soldiers must protect, not destroy. He had grown up in a small border town, watching cross-border raids devastate villages, families uprooted, children orphaned. From a young age, he carried the belief that war could not be won by firepower alone. That belief would be tested in ways he never imagined. That morning, word came of a civilian convoy approaching the contested zone. 75 souls, mostly women, children, and elderly, fleeing from an escalating clash beyond the border. Their route took them along the very road that ran past Camp Bravo. The local warlords on both sides had designated the road as no man's land, no ceasefire, no guarantees. Every footstep could draw fire. But the convoy had no alternatives: stay and face the crossfire, or press on into open danger. As the sun rose over the battlefield, the dust cloud on the horizon betrayed the convoy's movement. Aaron watched through his binoculars as battered trucks rumbled forward, laden with families holding blankets, bundles of possessions, and incredulous hope. Their faces were drawn, their eyes full of fear and exhaustion. In that moment, the orders crackled over the radio. "Stop the convoy! No civilian passage! The area is under active fire!" The commanding officer's voice was clipped, cold. "Stand your ground. Any vehicle in the corridor is a target." To Aaron, the orders made no sense. How could human lives be dismissed so easily? He felt a slow burn in his chest, anger, disbelief, purpose. He stepped away from the radio station, into the open compound. He breathed deeply, listening, the faint metallic hum of distant artillery, the murmurs of soldiers checking weapons, the dry whine of wind through briefing tents. He turned to Lieutenant Petras, his second in command. "If we hold them back, we'll condemn those people to death. We cannot do that." Petras' face was tight. "Orders are orders, Aaron. We don't have authority to defy command." "Then I'll take responsibility. We can't just sit here while people die." He looked back to the narrow mountain road where the convoy drew closer. Mothers carried infants, children stared with wide eyes, older men clutched walking sticks. The trucks creaked and shuddered. Every moment counted. He moved toward the gate. The sentry challenged, "Sentry Malik, orders say no passage." But Aaron ignored formalities. He walked to the gate, unbuckled his sidearm, and laid it on a table inside his quarters. He returned empty-handed. The soldiers at the checkpoint confronted him. "Sir, the command center says to fire on any approaching convoy," one said, voice trembling. Aaron fixed him with steady eyes. "Do you see children in those trucks? Do you see mothers? These are innocent souls, not enemies." He motioned to the road. "We will escort them through our zone. Do you wish to be part of a massacre or a rescue?" There was hesitation. Some soldiers shifted, uneasy. Others clasped their rifles tighter. The radio hissed with static and impatience. Orders from above: enforce the blockade, permit none. But Aaron pressed forward. He climbed onto a makeshift platform beside the road, waving both arms overhead. He yelled, voice carrying across the valley, "Stop! Hold their fire! I give these civilians safe passage through our zone!" Silence fell momentarily. Then machine gun bursts erupted. Tracer fire arced overhead. The convoy lurched and panic surged. Some trucks screeched to a halt. Women screamed, children cried, men crouched. Smoke curled over the road. Aaron's heart hammered. He dove down from the platform. Bullets shattered rocks around him. The dust exploded in puffs. He scrambled, arms outstretched, toward a stalled truck. A little girl peeked from the window, wide eyes, her face streaked with tears. He yelled, "Come on, get out!" He helped her down, shielded her head. He pulled her toward a low stone wall. Out, unarmed, toward the soldiers. His uniform was streaked with dust. His voice rang. "Cease fire! These are civilians! Stand down!" He raised his empty hands. Several rounds hit the ground beside him, shrapnel spitting. For an ache of a moment, the soldiers refused. One senior officer raised his rifle. In that moment, Aaron advanced without retreat. He shouted, "I will accept full responsibility. Fire on me if you must." The line of soldiers wavered. Their trigger fingers trembled. The senior officer hesitated. The sound of distant mortar fire rumbled. The sun blazed overhead. Then a single shot, not from the soldiers, but from across the valley, rang out. The senior officer abruptly ducked. The line fractured. Some soldiers threw themselves down, others lowered their weapons. Confusion rippled. Aaron lunged to the nearest truck, pulled open a door, and began ushering trapped civilians out. Mothers trembled, children wept, but he calmed them. "This way, follow me, stay low, stay close." He formed a human barrier, walking ahead, guiding the convoy through broken terrain, past minefields, past sniper nests, while soldiers behind him held fire uncertainly. From the ridges, machine guns sputtered, sniper fire hissed. Dust and rocks exploded near their path, but Aaron moved forward step by step. He shouted instructions. "Left turn! Use the broken wall for cover! Crawl! Crawl!" He bent to shield children. He prodded desperate parents. He carried the injured on his back. At one point, a mortar shell slammed into the ground behind them. Explosion, dirt and debris. Aaron flung himself over a child. The child screamed, ears bleeding. His eardrums roared. His clothes stung with grit. He checked her eyes, whispered, "You're safe now. Keep going." As the convoy neared the border of their safe zone, the soldiers trailing them opened the gate. They walked through, shaky, drenched in sweat and fear. They crossed over into territory held by neutral peacekeepers. The journey had taken nearly an hour under fire, every moment a crucible. When the last truck rumbled past, Aaron stood in the road, chest heaving, limbs shaking. He looked at the faces of those behind him, exhausted, traumatized, full of disbelief. Some kissed the ground, some sobbed. Mothers clasped their children, old men wept. Children stared, blinking, uncertain, still holding tightly to blankets and tattered bags. The commanding officer's voice crackled. "Captain Malik, what do you mean by defying orders?" He answered quietly, "I mean I refuse to watch 75 souls die. I mean I refuse to treat civilians like collateral. I mean I acted as a soldier of humanity." Back at Camp Bravo, the aftermath was tense. High-ranking commanders demanded explanations. Critics said he had risked the entire brigade. Supporters said he had saved lives without a single shot fired. Investigations were launched. Murphy's Law loomed. For every act of valor, there are consequences. Aaron sat in a small debrief room, dark and silent. He stared at the wall, fingers lacing nervously. A younger officer burst in, eyes wide. "Sir, the civilians you saved, they've all been evacuated. They're alive, no casualties." Relief washed over him, but guilt and adrenaline tangled in his gut. He closed his eyes. He remembered the little girl's tears, the mother's trembling hand, the old man's desperate stare. "I couldn't have turned away," he murmured to himself. But then the order came, reprimand. He would be relieved of command, placed under inquiry. They told him, "You overrode direct instructions. That's insubordination." His career hung poised. Meanwhile, the stories leaked. Word of his deed traveled among soldiers, among civilians, among news outlets. He became a sort of ghostly legend, the man who saved 75 lives. He made no grand speeches. He welcomed no praise. Weeks later, a delegation from the United Nations arrived. The head of the mission requested a meeting. She was a stern woman, diplomatic, experienced. She said quietly, "We have seen what you have done, Captain Malik. This world rarely rewards those who refuse to kill, but humanity must endure. If we ever hope for peace, we must choose compassion even in war." She offered him a position in civilian relief and diplomacy, a way to continue his service beyond the battlefield. Aaron accepted with reservation. In the months that followed, the report of that day was studied, debated, used in training manuals as an example of moral courage. Some officers dismissed it as reckless. Others quietly said, that was how war should be fought, not by bullets, but by valor. Aaron traveled to the border village where the civilians had been from. He walked among them, now resettled in safe zones. Mothers recognized him, tears in their eyes. Children ran up to grab his hand. Old men bowed their heads. As the years passed, conflicts flared elsewhere. Aaron traveled. He spoke to soldiers. He spoke to governments. He urged, even amid war, never forget the human face. Every life is precious. He wrote papers, gave lectures, advocated rules of engagement that prioritized rescue and protection. Sometimes he was met with derision, sometimes with respect. But that day, that single day, remained etched in his soul. When he closed his eyes, he saw the road, the convoy, the faces. He heard mothers whispering, children crying, soldiers hesitating. In that moment, true courage was not the pull of the trigger. It was the courage to step forward, unarmed, and say, I will protect you. That act saved 75 lives, not bullets, but bravery. He was more than a soldier. He was a reminder that true courage has no weapon. They told me I broke orders. I tell them I saved lives. Some may call it insubordination. I call it humanity. He walked through that valley, not with a gun, but with an unbreakable will. 75 souls lived because he dared to defy lethal authority, because he believed that even on the darkest battlefield, there is a thread of light. Let his story echo that valor is not measured in firepower, but in sacrifice, that the bravest act may be the one rooted in compassion, that peace, even in war, is earned by those who refuse to abandon humanity. He was more than a soldier. He was a reminder that true courage has no weapon.